Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of a series of videos where I document my thoughts about various topics I want to think about. I thought for this first episode, I would start off with the topic of dreams. Now, I've thought about a lot of things, but I've never really thought about the logical aspects of a dreamlike state. It's fun to imagine dreaminess, but I've just never actually analyzed it very much. Now, just so you know, this video is not really about why dreams happen so much as a video about the dreamlike state or being in a dreamy state of mind. I want to explore not really just why that happens, more how it might be able to help us, how exactly we feel when we're in that state, how it differs from the other states of mind that we experience every day. Now, this is excluding the particular topics of hallucination and hypnosis. I was thinking about talking about hypnosis in this one, but I feel like it's just such a completely different thing. It's just something out of this world. I feel like it needs to be discussed in a whole other thing, because it's like magic. It's like a spell you put on someone. It literally is. It's a part of the real world, and that's crazy. And I feel like it deserves its own video or something. So what I'm going to focus on right now are the qualities of being in a dreamlike state, the possible uses of it, what's going on inside our minds. And this is mostly theoretical, just branching off the research I've already done. And I might talk about whatever else my thoughts might lead me to. It may even stray off the topic of dreams, but I am going to see what I come up with. So here we go, the dreamlike state. Now, this state of mind takes you out of the normal world completely. I mean, other strong feelings can do that too, like a strong sense of accomplishment or something beautiful that you see. Those are all strong feelings, but you still feel more aware of everything. You have control over things. Your logical side is more active, and you just feel more awake. The state of mind I have in mind is the state that's most similar to when you're in an actual dream, when you're sleeping. Now, besides sleep, I think this state can be most realistically triggered by drugs and those other herbal things that can activate those areas of your brain. I think it can also be simulated by just being in your own mind for a while, not thinking about things logically, just sitting back and seeing what your mind shows you. That can do a similar sort of thing. I think the other areas of your brain, they're still there, they're still on, but I think it's a simulation of the brain when only the memory area and the area that deals with high emotions are active, and those areas are the ones that are active during a dream. When it's a simulation, like during the day, the logical areas are still available, but the dream ones are most prominent. All those I consider dreamlike states. I mean, in actual dreams, in your sleep, your senses are so much more vivid, because if you touch something in the dream, you can actually feel it. You can imagine feeling things when you're awake, for sure, but not like in a sleep dream. Well, actually, before I go on, I think we need to be more grateful for our ability to imagine things. What would we be able to do without imagination? We could use logic, yeah, but that would be really boring if we couldn't actually imagine something to do or make. Think about how you can picture things in your mind. Think about that. The brain can use its recordings from the real world to visualize an entire image. Even to visualize an image that has never ever been visualized before. And you can imagine touch and taste, smell. You can imagine sound. It's almost like hearing it for real. Imagine only being able to hear your favorite songs when you're able to play them in real life. You can imagine those songs anytime you want. You have a whole other world in your mind. And the things in that world don't have to stay there. The brain is smart enough to take what it's imagining and figure out how to bring them into the larger world. This could be writing things down, talking. Jesus, we can fucking talk. We can say whatever we're thinking. We can use a chain of symbolic sound to communicate a complex idea right from our brain to another brain. And we can bring those ideas to the outside world by drawing, constructing things, even composing music. But that's what we are. We are here not just to experience the world, but to build on it. Just putting that out there. Now, back to the dream state thing. The thing that really sets a general dreamy atmosphere apart from other experiences is how little control we have over what we're experiencing. Excluding things like lucid dreams, which are a whole other thing, when we're in a dreamy trance, we are taken for a gentle yet sometimes heavy journey. Having a grip on reality is now out of the question. Our entire world is overtaken with this overwhelming ethereal soup of subconsciousness. In this state, we have very strong emotional reactions to everything, even when we're feeling peaceful. The dreamy version of peace is actually still strong. It's like overwhelmingly calm. I think the best and safest way to get into a dream state in the real world without going to sleep is to listen to music. Now, music is already an amplification of emotion, but it's not often dreamlike. It can touch upon many different kinds of emotional journeys, but these journeys are usually from the real world, as in, they still allow you to feel in control of yourself. What I've heard is that some French classical music, like works by Ravel or Debussy or Fauré, sound very dreamy. They represent a dream state perfectly. They're light and soft, but they can still make you feel strongly. There are lots of changes in the music, but they're very small and subtle changes, like a melody wavering around a general area. And when that's done constantly, it creates a sense of disorganization, but a smooth, constant flow of disorganization. This is what we feel when we're at the whim of whatever commotion our trance-like state gives us. And that's why French classical music feels like a dream. Other music is more solid. It's more deliberate. Dreamy music has no particular direction it wants to go in. Whatever it wants, so to speak, is whatever comes up from your messy subconscious, which is often, like I said, accompanied by strong emotional reactions. If you're dreaming about a car ride or a trip to the mall, you can feel scared and you don't know why, but in another case you might feel happy and you don't know why. But these emotions in the dream are extremely haunting. They're almost transcendent. It's almost like they can't be completely imagined when you're out of that dreamlike state. Have you ever woken up with those extremely strong feelings of your dreams still haunting you in the real world? And then a half hour later, you're recalling your dream, trying to imagine the feeling again, and you can't. I'm not talking about remembering the events of the dream. It's like you can't fully imagine the feeling. You know it was strong, but at this time, you just can't imagine it. You can't seem to imagine the normal state of mind and your dream state at the same time. And you're surprised that those two worlds can even exist in the same universe. The normal world can seem so much more real, yet the dream world felt just as real. The two worlds simply have a stark contrast. I don't know if you can feel something as strong as a dream without going into that dreamlike state again. It seems like the areas of your brain that keep you awake and alert, like your reasoning, keep you from feeling things too strongly. When you're in love, that's a pretty strong feeling, but it doesn't feel like a normal state of mind. It takes over you. It's like another daydream. All the parts of your brain dealing with control and consciousness are temporarily out of the game. So I feel like, even neurologically speaking, when you are actively in love, you are literally in a dream, even if it's for a couple seconds. Now, as for how dream states could help us live our lives somehow, a thought that I immediately have about this is how dreams keep the balance. When we're in the real world too much, we need a rest from all that constant management. Even our pastimes, our pleasures, they're great, and you can argue that they are the same or even better than a dream. But that's all part of a world where we need to respond to situations with care and reasoning. Sometimes we need to take a rest and let our minds put on a show for us. Now, speaking of a show being put on for you, that's why the younger you get, the more life feels like a dream. More things are being arranged for you than being arranged by you. Like how in a dream, Your subconscious arranges things for you instead of yourself doing that. You have a simpler understanding of things. And a lot of what you don't understand is just all around you, which you just interpret as something simple. Like you might think, Dad is writing something, maybe it's a letter, instead of, Dad is working on filing his taxes and he's probably trying to calculate his income at the moment. Simpler things can make you feel strong emotions, rather than complicated things that you encounter when you're older and more aware of things. On another note, we don't really have an insight on how exactly children feel and interpret things, unless children themselves tell us. And that is exactly what Mozart did. Mozart started composing at a very young age, at 5 years old, and his very early works tell us something. His genius aside, Mozart's compositions are very emotionally honest. And what does that mean if he started composing at 5 years old? We now have a solid record of how a child's feelings work. We don't really have anything else like that in the world. This is the closest we're going to get to knowing what's going on in a child's mind. And listening to his early compositions from when he was 5, 6, or 7, they're different from his later compositions. They are more ethereal, more full of quiet commotion. It has a Baroque style to it still, but it also feels like a dream. And I think this is only because he was so young. Every child has gone through the frustration of trying to tell an adult how they're feeling, and the adult shrugs it off. Mozart, as a child, has accomplished something that likely no other child has. It wouldn't have been convincing to tell an adult how he was feeling. Instead, he showed people how he was feeling. Where words failed, he spoke in music. I highly recommend listening to Mozart's very early compositions, especially the violin sonatas, because they will likely remind you of the forgotten atmosphere of childhood. Back to the usefulness of dream states. The only other reason I think dreams would be useful is a very well-known reason: to prepare for emotionally distressing situations. The theory has existed for a while that we evolved to have dreams because if we imagine while we sleep an anxious or frightening situation, we're more prepared to handle that anxiety in real life. So there's that, and the fact that it provides a balance between the world we control and the world that's controlled by our strange brains. Then there's the meaning behind dreams. How do they seem to predict the future so often? Maybe somehow the subconscious has used what it has seen during the day to calculate what will happen in the future. But most of the time, sleep dreams give us things like monkeys slicing talking potatoes. I don't know, maybe it's only sometimes that the brain has the capacity to calculate the future. Otherwise, I don't know how dreams could give us so many answers. During the day, there's so much stuff we need to take care of, and there comes a point where we're very overwhelmed by everything that comes at us. There's no better rest from that than not having to take care of anything at all for a bit, and that's what dreams are. They are a way for us to experience pure overwhelmedness and strong emotion. So when we feel that in real life, we aren't as put off by it, and the alert side of our brain is then ready to take on whatever comes our way. On a different note, consider anything we imagine in our heads, like an idea or a dream or a fantasy we make up. While these are, as they say, just in our head, I think they are completely real. Not real as in happening outside of your head, but the fact that you're thinking of it in the first place is real. Imagining whatever you want inside your head is part of the very real universe. A brain that can imagine ancient lands populated by wizards and dragons is part of the real world. The universe created something that could think of that. When we think about how the universe could do that, what else could it do? If the universe can create creatures like us, what else could it create? Surely more than planets and galaxies? Maybe life with extraordinary skills that are either incomprehensible to us or at least mind-blowing, like a creature that could move at the speed of light around a planet, checking the whole atmosphere for dangerous chemicals, and then converting those chemicals to something safer. if evolution made us go from random particles to what we are now, what else could it create? Something more powerful than us? Something controlling us right now? I think that's a good place to end.